Hello there. You've probably seen the 1993 movie titled The Sandlot, directed by David Mickey Evans. Well, today I'll be ranking all 9 of the Sandlot kids, but not based on my personal preference. This ranking is solely dependent on their baseball performances in the summer of 1962 as shown in the movie. These rankings don't take into account any information about what these characters go on to do in the future, even if one of them happens to steal home in an LA Dodgers game. So keep that in mind. Just all the baseball playing and athleticism that we see take place in 1962. To be as objective as possible, I critiqued and graded every scene that each player was actively involved in, and calculated a weighted average score to determine these rankings. The average score was weighted so that the more important scenes, such as the rivalry game against the Tigers, were more impactful to the player's score than less significant scenes, as it pertains to each person. Let's get started on these rankings, going from 9th to 1st. At number 9, with an overall score of 77.29 out of 100, we have none other than Scotty Smalls.
You're killing me, Smalls.
If you've seen the first 20 minutes of the movie, then you can see Smalls miserably fail at playing baseball. The very first scene of The Sandlot, the only positive aspect Smalls displays is when he runs to and from the Sandlot with discernible speed. He takes about 40 seconds to retrieve the ball and another 20 seconds before attempting his sad excuse of a throw that goes about 8 feet. Playing catch with Bill wasn't much better. And in the next baseball scene, Smalls still played poorly, such as tripping backward and running the ball back from left center into De Nunez's glove. But here's the thing. If I were to pretend that Smalls wasn't in these first 3 scenes and remove them from his overall score, Smalls would jump up to 2nd place. That's how impressive his stats are after Benny tells him to throw his hat in the fireplace. From that day forward, we see great things out of the self-proclaimed egghead.
I'm just an egghead.
Like running and sliding at second base and catching Benny's ball when it's just a sloppy sphere of yarn. Not to mention, with only 2 swings at bat in the Sandlot, Smalls hits a home run that went clear over, much to his dismay. So that gets high praise from me as a baseball judge for the sake of this video. Unfortunately for Smalls, I can't ignore his pitiful first 3 scenes, and they drastically hurt his overall score. Smalls undoubtedly earns the title of Most Improved Player, but still has the worst score when it's all said and done. At number 8, with an overall score of 81.5, we have Mike Palladores, aka Squints. As you can see, his biggest blunder was the 4th of July sequence, and it's a doozy. Once they all get to the Sandlot for their night game, Squints takes the left fielder position. Benny immediately hits a ball deep in Squints' direction. However, Squints made no effort to retrieve it, due to being distracted by all the fireworks. Benny reached home plate for an inside-the-park home run, and Squints still did nothing throughout the whole process. So Squints takes the heavy majority for allowing an in-the-park homer, and earns himself a 21%. Yaya and Smalls were relatively nearby to run and pick up the ball, but their lack of involvement is nowhere near as bad compared to Squints. If I were to remove any record of Squints playing on the 4th of July, his ranking would suddenly explode from 8th to 2nd place. So take that as a lesson not to be distracted when a ball is traveling near you in the outfield. Otherwise, you'll gaze your way to the bottom tier like Squints did. Nevertheless, on the upside, Squints consistently competed well during the daytime. On the opening scene, he makes a somewhat strenuous catch while running forward. Against the Tigers, Squints triumphs with a clean hit to right field, and later slides safe at second base. Throughout the movie, Squints has displayed that he is clearly faster than most of his teammates, most likely being the 4th fastest, behind Benny, De Nunez, and Smalls. Squints was the 3rd one to reach Smalls at the fence, after being the first to notice that Smalls was attempting to jump over. Then, in the ultimate chase sequence around the town, Squints was the 2nd person to run after Benny and the Beast out of the Sandlot towards the neighborhood, and was the 2nd person to run back to Mr. Myrtle's fence at the end of it. Let's move on to number 7. With an average weighted score of 82.857, we have the youngest and shortest player, Tommy Timmons. Tommy is known for being the right fielder, repeating what his older brother says, and having the least screen time out of all the Sandlot kids. Tommy isn't involved in many baseball moments in this movie. As you can see, there's only 6 scenes with enough Tommy action for me to evaluate, as everyone else has at least 8 scenes with grades attached to their performances. Tommy's biggest showcase of talent is the rivalry game at Rose Park Field. There we see him bunt, slide forward to second base, and then was on second base again when Benny hits a home run, thus directly causing Tommy and De Nunez to score in the process. But on the downside, Tommy is shown to be the slowest player on the team.
You're too slow!
as even Ham manages to run a bit faster than Tommy. Plus, when Tommy was making weak slaps while Ham was victoriously rounding the bases, I did not regard that highly for the future contractor. There's not much else to be said about Tommy. He makes a solid catch in the epilogue scene, and unlike Smalls and Squints, Tommy never egregiously fails with any baseball-related instances that we know of, thus earning him number 7. Now, I should point out that the overall scores of our next 3 Sandlot players are so minuscule to each other. The difference between number 6 and number 4 in the rankings has a difference of less than 0.026 out of 100, so keep that in mind as we move forward. Appearing at number 6 with a weighted average score of 88.166 is the guy who got really into the 60s, Bertram Grover Weeks. Bertram was a good player, but didn't display anything extraordinary. Both his first and last grades were equally his highest at a 96%. In the opening Sandlot scene, Bertram scoops up a short hop while between first and second base and adequately throws it to Timmy on first base. Later, he catches a ball from Yeah while having his right foot on second base, then immediately throws it directly to Timmy on first again for a competent showing. During the epilogue, we see Bertram on 2 separate occasions swiftly catch the ball from Yeah and then send it to Timmy at first base in a smooth fashion. In addition to getting distracted by the fireworks on 4th of July, Bertram's worst performance was his involvement in the pickle before Phillips and his teammates show up on their bicycles. What happened was Bertram took far too long to throw the ball back to Ham near home plate, thus leading to an easy score for Benny. Plus, the throw itself was a lousy one, too low and too far to the left of where Ham was. Number 5 on our list with an overall score barely above Bertram's at 88.179, it's the pitcher, Kenny De Nunez. Now, this may come as a surprise to most of you, myself included. After all, De Nunez is clearly the second fastest player on the team and the best player at pitching, or else he wouldn't have the position. Yes, that is true, but De Nunez never really showcased his pitching abilities against any Sandlot players at bat with satisfactory results. He exhibited great technique, but at the same time, Ham and Smalls were still able to get home runs after just 2 pitches each, in addition to Benny constantly hitting the ball deep into the outfield from De Nunez's pitches. The only players that get struck out by his heaters are the Tigers players, and that heavily contributed to a 99% for his grade in the rivalry game. Aside from pitching against the Tigers, his heaters didn't deliver, at least not what was shown to the audience. As I mentioned already with Bertram, De Nunez also made a blunder with the pickle prior to Phillips showing up on the bikes. While chasing Benny, De Nunez throws the ball to third base way too early, as Benny immediately takes off for home and easily scores in time. But I must acknowledge that De Nunez's speed certainly helped push him above the 4 bottom players in the rankings. Shortly after Ham's home run, De Nunez was the second player to reach Smalls at the fence. The chase throughout the town further emphasized his speed, as Kenny was the first to leave the Sandlot whilst following Benny and the Beast, still kept his lead in the neighborhood, and was the first one to reach the Sandlot area next to Mr. Myrtle's fence at the chase's conclusion. Coming in at number 4 with a score just mere decimals above De Nunez and Bertram at an 88.1923, it's the older brother and first baseman Timmy Timmons. His worst performance is his idleness shown in the pickle moments before the insults start flying with Phillips and Ham. Most people fail to notice that as Benny was caught in no man's land between home plate and third base, as the other players are trying to work together to tag Benny out, Timmy runs from first base and decides to kneel down near the pitcher's mound to watch it play out. Once Benny scores, Timmy runs forward to congratulate him. I don't know about you, but I consider Timmy's viewership to be ridiculously unhelpful, as Ham and De Nunez could have certainly used an extra person to stand by at home plate during the rundown. It's like Timmy thought he was a spectator instead of an actual player. Other than that, and getting distracted by all the fireworks like everyone else, Timmy played magnificently throughout the summer, especially when fielding at first base. Timmy steadily catches every ball thrown to him, and quickly throws it to Ham each time. It's kind of strange that Ham is the only person that Timmy ever throws the ball to, but it's repeatedly on target. As far as speed goes, Timmy proves he's not the slowest, but more like the median runner of the group. There seems to be 4 players faster than Timmy, and 4 players slower than Timmy. At number 3 in our rankings, not far from the previous 3 players, with a comprehensive score of 88.7, we have the bungee jumping pioneer, Al McLennan. We call him Yeah-Yeah's resume is well-rounded, as nothing immediately stands out as rubbish. Ya's worst mistake was on 4th of July by not yelling at Squints to get his attention and or running to retrieve the ball in left field himself, as he was relatively nearby, being the third baseman. Out of all the Sandlot players, Yaya actually had the worst performance when playing against the Tigers, as it looks like his first swing very well could have been a pop fly. But shortly thereafter, Yaya hits a ground ball as it bounces just beyond the reach of the first baseman. Yaya proves to be a valuable fielder in the first Sandlot scene by making quick work of a short hop and immediately throwing it to Timmy at first base. In the epilogue, Yaya throws it to Bertram, who's close by at second base. About 20 seconds later, Yaya then scoops up a ball that was bouncing towards him and skillfully throws it to Bertram again. At number 2, with a score of 91.328, it's Hamilton Porter. We call him Ham.
You know him as the Great Hambino.
Yes, Ham is the second best on the team. Ham is a solid catcher and an even better batter. Ham is the only player to hit more than one home run over the outfield fence. His running pace is obviously below average, but not to the point of spelling disaster. He does drop the ball 3 times throughout the movie, but they're all inconsequential. The first time was from an inaccurate throw by Bertram, but Benny already scored by then. The next one was after number 9 from the Tigers had just been struck out, and I highly doubt there was anyone on base that would have benefited from it. And the last one was from a strike with number 14 at bat, and Ham instantly reaches over to grab the ball. Nevertheless, Ham is an effective catcher, and his ability to distract and heckle those Tigers players is an added bonus. That leads us to number 1 on our rankings, and it's not even close. With a weighted average of 97.35, we got Benny, the Jet, Rodriguez. Just take a look at this guy's scores here and be impressed. Benny even has his own scene in the schoolyard to showcase his talents within the first 3 minutes of the movie. Benny's lowest score is a 90. That's because Smalls was able to catch what was left of Benny's ball after the cover flew off, thus making it an out. I'm telling you right now, if no one caught that ball, Benny's grade would have been at least a 98% for that scene, if not higher. Benny had 3 inside the park home runs, one in the aforementioned schoolyard, the second being on Wednesday night, July 4th, and his third was just a moment before the Tigers show up on their bicycles. Then his first automatic homer comes at the end of the rivalry game by hitting the scoreboard. He's a remarkable baseball player, no way of arguing otherwise, and his speed is next level, with or without the PF Flyers. Benny would have earned 100% in the chase sequence if Hercules hadn't bit and torn his shirt in the final stretch, so a 99% is more than fair for his quickness and evasiveness. Heroes get remembered, but legends never die. Benjamin Franklin Rodriguez is a legend. So there you have it. All 9 of the Sandlot kids rank from worst to best in terms of baseball skills. If you strongly disagree with these rankings, or any of the individual scores I gave for these scenes, then please tell me why I'm wrong in the comments section. Be sure not to bob for apples in the toilet on your way out, and I hope to see you next time.